Today, the Sonoma is going to get a little bit of love, and I mean just a little bit. We're going to be doing the front main seal. Let's do it. So the tools I used doing the front crankshaft seal are 2 different picks, 2 different extensions, 16, 15, 14, and a 10 millimeter socket. Those 2 are a 14 and a 16. I got an impact and a bit driver, 2 different ratchets, an 1 7/16 wrench, 2 different pry bars, and a hammer. As seemingly always when we're working on cars, jack it up, make it safe to go underneath, remove this plastic cover here, and these bolts are a 15 millimeter. As you can see, this thing is leaking and has been leaking for a very long time, which is why we're going to try and figure out where it's coming from. Alright, up on the top side here, we're going to have to take the Serpentine belt off and the fan shroud. Really just the bottom, but I don't think you can get the bottom off without taking the top off, so they're both coming off. When I took the Serpentine belt off, I used a 13 millimeter wrench on the back side of that pulley to push the tensioner down, when really, even easier, you can just use a 3/8 ratchet and do the same thing. But for the Serpentine belt, you're going to have to put a wrench on the nut that holds this pulley on right here, and you're going to turn it downward to relieve the tension of the belt. And that pulley there is a 13 millimeter. And with the tension off the belt, you can slip the belt off of this pulley here. Assuming you can find a 10 millimeter, you can go ahead and take off those 3 up there, and then on each side, the bolts that hold the top half and the bottom half of the shroud together. After those bolts are out, you can move your AC lines out of the way, and you can pick the top half of the shroud up and off the truck. Alright, with that top radiator shroud removed, you're going to have to take the fan off. The fan has, I believe that was an 1 7/16. I have a pry bar here set up, wedged in there so it can't spin. And then I have my wrench on the nut, turning it counterclockwise, normal lefty-loosey. Sweet. It was a little bit less exciting than I expected when it broke free. I was pretty sure that the pry bar had just slipped off, but it broke free. Alright, so now that your fan is disconnected, you can pull it out of the truck, and then you can reach in there and pull out your fan shroud as well. And now we're going to move to the bottom of the truck, start getting those bolts out. The 3 bolts on the outside are 14 millimeter, and this bolt in the middle is a 16 millimeter. So underneath the truck, time to take off the harmonic balancer, or at least the pulley that's attached to it. And luckily, my Milwaukee impact, but with the normal short socket, it is the exact length to at least be able to break them free. If you had a stubby impact, or even an air-powered one, that's a little bit smaller, this would work even better. With that pulley off, it's time to pull the harmonic balancer. To get that harmonic balancer off, you're either going to need to buy, rent, whatever, a harmonic balancer puller. Once that harmonic balancer puller is hooked up, you just tighten the bolt for the next 20 friggin' minutes until the balancer falls off. So now we're going to grab some picks, and we're going to pull that old seal out, and hopefully it cooperates. So it really doesn't look like it cooperated, but I just stuck a pick in there, hooked the backside, and pulled forward, and it popped right out. I mean, the first try it ripped, but second try, popped right out. With the old seal out, you can set the new seal in place, and then just tap it in flush with a hammer, Now that you got the new seal on, everything else that you took off can go back on. And to put the balancer on, you're going to need a pulley press. Technically, you could use the bolt that was in the middle of the pulley, but if when you're starting it, you know, you only have a couple threads in, it strips out the end of the crank, you're probably going to have bigger problems. So let's go rent a pulley press. But once the balancer is back on, you can put the pulley on. When the pulley is back on, you can put the lower fan shroud in. With the lower fan shroud in place, I'm going to go ahead and throw the serpentine belt back on, then the fan, then the upper radiator shroud. And with all that put back on, I never finished the video and I sold the truck, but once you get everything put back together, you can enjoy your non-oil leaking truck.